Guys, you're looking at eSword. It is a Bible software that's free, and you can go to our website at bpearthwatch.com. Scroll down on the right, and you'll see a blue box that says eSword. That's what you're looking at now. And for all you guys that know this, I'm not trying to be repetitive. There's new folks that come in every day. So, and what we're looking at, again, you have the King James Version. There's other commentaries, parallel, comparison Bibles, but the tremendous search engine that's in this free software will let you find any word you're concerned about, a phrase or verse in the Bible. And that's very good, but if you are interested in going in deeper into the Word, which I think is important, as Timothy said, study to show yourself approved. And if you want any approval in your lifetime, the approval of God is very important if you think about the implications. And the reason, this is about Genesis and the garden, but the reason I'm in 2 Peter is because it's very important. If you don't understand the beginning, you won't understand the end. Let me read part of 2 Peter 3. It says this second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance. Now, there's so much in that first line, guys. What is your pure mind? Why would you need it stirred up once you're in the physical body? Because you're not in your pure mind as long as you are dealing with the physical world, with your physical eyes and physical ears. But if in the spirit, your pure mind is that you have spiritual eyes that are open, and spiritual ears, and you can see and hear things. So he wants to stir up your pure mind and by the way of remembrance. And so that's what the Word is all about. Remembering the pure mind and what was happening at that point. It says that you may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets and the commandment of us, the apostles of the Lord and Savior, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. Guys, they want to cast doubt, and there is no doubt. For this they are willingly or ignorant, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world was that then was being overflowed with water perished. Guys, when he says that the word of God and the heavens were of old, do you know there were two floods? That's a different video, but Noah's flood was the second. In the first flood, there was no life left. That's another video. It's a good study also. It says, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. This day of fire, day of judgment. Why? Ungodly men. That's what we're seeing. The evil. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. And he's talking about compared to man. And so, if 1,000 years to us is a one day with God, then it puts in perfect sync the actually 8 days of creation in Genesis. You got 6 days, a day of rest, and the Lord looked and he needed a man. And so you have man as Adam, that means man, but there's a word in the Hebrew that says Ahadam, and that is the Adam. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? You got man, but you have the Adam. And so man was created, and then there was a day of rest, but man, he didn't have a shepherd, someone to tend the planet. But he created one, but it was after that day of rest. And so in the ancient Hebrew, Ahadam, the Adam, was the 8th day creation. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also, and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Guys, that is a long way off. I just want to say that because there's going to be a lot of chaos. But when the earth and everything is burned up, that's going to be after the 1,000-year millennium, when the books are opened. And that 1,000-year millennium, guys, for those that are saved and have not taken the mark of the beast, will be a great time. Imagine, Satan is locked away for the 1,000 years, right? So that we don't have the negative influence and persona that we see on this planet now. It's overtaking politics, banking, the military, the entire planet. But when that evil's taken away and you have 1,000 years in paradise, basically going back to the Garden of Eden type situation with Christ teaching you in that peaceful setting. Imagine that. Then after that 1,000 years, the books are open. But if you have taken the mark of the beast willingly, your name's not going to be in that book. It says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversations and godliness, looking forward and hasting unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. That's what I'm talking about. That is what's coming. But the key thing that I went here to 2 Peter was that you understand that a day with the Lord is 1,000 years to man. And so that puts into chronicle order, guys, when you go from the days of creation, including the day of rest, and then technically the 8th day. Each one of those are 1,000 years. So when a lot of people say, well, the earth's only 6,000 years old, but then you've got to count those periods of 1,000 years, those first 8 days, because you think about it, 1,000 years is just a day, but if we were there watching these creations come about, the animals, the plants, we would have been watching for 1,000 years these things come to be. And that is multiple 1,000-year periods. So if you look back at history, about 12 or 13,000 years ago, there was a great cataclysm on the planet. Okay? And even from the Native American Indians at that time, there was great fireballs and comets that were coming by and destroying the earth or heating up and demolishing sections of the planet. About 12,000 years or so ago, across the planet, there was major destruction. And so you see the rebirth from the first flood and the first catabo, or the first overthrow of this planet. And it's because the same things have been going on for a long time. Now, since you understand the 1,000 days were 1,000 years of man was a one day with God, that will help with the chronology of Genesis. Now let's go there, because we're going back to what happened in the garden. Now this is about Genesis 3, but I just want to go to Genesis 1:1 first. In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Guys, do you understand what was just said in the first 2 lines of the Old Testament? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, but he didn't create it void and without form. If you look at this in Hebrew, the earth became without form. This is that first major flood where everything was destroyed. No life was left. No birds were flying around bringing back olive branches to an ark. Everything was wiped out. Then it was started over into the second earth age that we're dealing with, and that's where Genesis comes in, and Adam. Before that, there were massive civilizations across this planet, and if you can't understand it now, just remember it, and we will get into that video. But if you've studied Hebrew long enough, you'll understand what I'm saying. But the earth was without form. What it says, and we'll look at it in Hebrew, the earth became without form. Switching to our King James Version Plus. Let me pull this back up, guys, just so you understand where we're at. We were looking at King James, then King James V Plus gives you the Hebrew numbers with the real meaning. The H, the Old Testament, is for Hebrew. If we get in the New Testament, it will say Greek or G for Greek, even though some was Aramaic. But here it says, and the earth was without form. That is not the proper translation. It says to become, a primitive root compared to H1933, to exist, that is, be or become, it come to pass. It became without form. This is why it was started over in Genesis. Just again, hang in there. Let's go to Genesis 3:1. The emphasis will be on verse 8. But again, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God has made. He's not talking about a snake. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of any tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. Now, if you think about it, it's exactly what happened. Because they were cast out of the spiritual paradise where there is no death. And once they were in their physical bodies, they began to die. And that's what happened. They lived a long time, but they partook of the fruit, which was Satan, and they were cast into their physical bodies. Guys, one of my old videos that were taken down was excellent about the beginning of Adam and Eve in the garden. I should redo it. It's probably an hour long, and it's very detailed about what they actually went through. And it talks about they had never seen the sun go down. They had never been burned by the sun. And when the first night fell, when they were cast out, and that cherubim was put there with that flaming sword to keep them from coming back into paradise, they were ready to commit suicide and tried several times. As night fell, they thought it was the end of everything. They had never felt hunger or heat. Excellent study of that. But, and the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die, for God knoweth that in that day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. At that point was the beginning of the transition from the spirit, or from the spirit body to the physical body. That's why they were starting to realize these things. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking into the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called unto Adam and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou was naked? Hast thou eaten of that tree, whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Just hang in there. And the Lord said, God said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And she had 2 sons. Do you know what beguile means in Hebrew, guys? Let's look at it. Again, Genesis 3:13. The woman said, He beguiled me. And this is a Hebrew word, 5377. Click on that. And it says to lead astray, that is, mentally to delude or to seduce. Beguile, it means wholly, morally, physically seduced. That is why she had twins. Guys, if you don't realize that a woman can have two kids, twins, basically, from two different fathers, then you're not very up on the body, the human body. But that can happen, and it can be from different races, even. Now, why is that important? Because that is why, if you go into Genesis 4, that they separate the genealogy of Cain and Adam. Think about it. You've got, this starts, you're going through all of these happenings, and Satan has seduced Eve. I know I'm just very lightly touching on this, but it's very important you understand it. And so the Lord sent them out of the garden. And that, again, that's an excellent video from the lost books of Adam and Eve. But what happens? Let's go to Genesis 4. Now, Genesis 4, Adam knew Eve his wife. In other words, again, this happened. To know your wife is to seduce her or to procreate. And she conceived and bare Cain and said, I've gotten a man from the Lord. She was mistaken. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought out the fruit of the ground, an offering unto the Lord. And Abel also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain, who was not his son, was not Adam's son, to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is their countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted. If thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Guys, they have no plan on doing well in the eyes of God. And Cain rose up, he killed Abel. We all know the story. And so it goes on down, and if you look, God kicked Cain out. You got to go to on the east of Eden into the land of Nod. And Cain knew his wife. Where were these? How did Cain get a wife, guys? What did I say about Adam and Ahadam? The sixth-day creation was man. There was and at that time there was generations. And they continued on to this point. There were other people on earth because of the sixth-day creation. You've got to understand the beginning or the end's going to completely blow over your head. And Cain knew his wife, she conceived and bare Enoch, and he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. And so this is the beginning of Satan and his bloodline, the Cainites, the serpent seed, copying everything that Adam did, the bloodline of Christ. Because here, if we go a little further, it says, and Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methuselah. This is not Methuselah. This is Methuselah begat Lamech. Again, some of the names are very close. Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah. These were not Adamic race. These were not the bloodline of Christ. So if we go further, again, I just wanted to touch on this, where Adam knew his wife again after the slaughter of Abel, and she bare a son, and his name was Seth. For God, she said, hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, who Cain slew, and that's the name of Seth. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began the men to call the name of the Lord. What happened next? Guys, and this is it, Genesis 5:1. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made him. Male and female, he created them and blessed them. He called their name Adam in the day when they were created. The generations are separated. Why did the Old Testament separate the chronology of the generation of Cain from the generation of Adam? Because Adam was not his father. And the Cainites, guys, the Cainites mean sons of Cain. And do you know that when Israel was taken into captivity for 400 years. At that time, it's not here, it's further on in the Old Testament. They were taken into captivity. At that time, when they were taken into captivity, the Levitical priesthood were the priest. Okay? They were the appointed priest of God, the Levitical priesthood. But by the time the 400 years were over and they returned, and the people, and they were counted, and who was doing what, no longer was the Levites in charge, or the Levitical priesthood in charge of the church or the temple. The Kenites were the sons of Cain, the scribes, okay? The Kenites were the scribes. And so they had worked their way from being servants in the church. They started out just creeping in like a Trojan horse. But by the time they came out of captivity, the Kenites had taken over the church, and they continue to have it today. So when we talk about coming out of Babylon, it's also the knowledge of the truth. But I know I laid a lot out here, guys, in a short period of time, and we'll touch on some of the subjects separately, but we need to understand we're in the end times. Evil is afoot, and if you don't understand the beginning, what happened in the garden, why are there Kenites, you're not going to understand the end. And a lot of people say, but what about the second flood, or the flood, as some people call it? Guys, do you know that Noah's sons were married to some of the tribe, the women from the Kenites, the descendants of Cain? And so that bloodline continued. God said, put two of all flesh upon that ark. And the ark itself is a totally unique study, because there's no more species of animals on earth now than there were then. They were already created. God did it in the beginning, okay? How did they get two of all the animals on this planet on that ark? Because, again, that's going to be a different story, guys. I don't want to blow your mind all the way at first, but think genetics and think seed bank, okay? It's a heads up. Be safe.